Hey, and welcome to this short overview of what it's like to build a guitar using Warmoth parts in your own home. I am by no means a professional luthier, but I've put a handful of guitars together and I really enjoy it. So I wanted to share some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that might help out a newbie. I was pretty busy, so I split the build up over 7 non-consecutive days, but you can do it faster or slower depending on your time availability and your experience. The parts arrive on day 1 from Warmoth, Guitar Electronics, Seymour Duncan, and Amazon. The body was picked from the Warmoth showcase, as was the neck. The body came with all the routing done, which includes routes for pickups, electronics cavities, pots, the switch, the jack, as well as the stop tailpiece and tune-o-matic bridge anchors installed. The unfinished neck came with frets and nut installed, tuner holes sized for spertzel tuners, and the truss rod cover itself. Any and all small screw holes for things like that truss rod cover, strap locks, pick guards, jack plates, etc. must be drilled yourself. All I really did on day 1 was unbox everything and screw in the bridge and tailpiece anchors. On day 2 I'll be doing the first couple clear coats on a new neck. I use the nitro paint from Guitar Re-Ranch, and I buy from him all the time. It's just a single guy, and I really like the results I get with it. So I'll do one coat here and then let it dry on the super fancy hanger. And then I'll go right back and hit a second coat, just in case I missed any spots. And this helps get it prepared for the water slide decal application. You can't put a water slide on bare wood. You want to put it over something else. So I go ahead and do a couple coats and then get ready for the water slide here. First thing to do with the decal is dunk it in warm water. It helps loosen the glue up. And then I can tease the edge of the decal off the backing paper. This decal I get from a company called Rothko and Frost. They're across the pond. I keep going back to them because I've used their products a few times and I really like them. They come with instructions and it's really easy to follow. So it's as simple as that. I'll let that dry overnight and then we'll start again tomorrow. Day 3 starts with a mist coat of nitro to lock in the decal. Too heavy a spray will cause the decal to shrivel, so it's just a quick shot. A few hours later, I'll go ahead and hit the neck with a heavier coat of clear and let it sit for the rest of the day. Switching to the body, the Warmoth bodies come with the back plate and screws ready to go. Really nice feature is that they also install the bridge grounding wire. Check the schematic for how many wires I need to run up to the switch, in this case 3, and I'll use shielded braid because I know I can't line the entire channel with copper tape, and I would otherwise be susceptible to noise. And I also labeled the ends here so I know what I'm doing later. Then starts the fun part of getting the humbuckers mounted inside the rings with the spring in between. As a side note, not shown here was me filing down the chrome rings so they could sit flush on top of the carved top there. It took about an hour each, definitely took a little while. Once the wires are run, I'll tape the pickups down to keep them from scratching up the body, and I'll start drilling tomorrow. Before the final clear coat of nitro on the neck, I'll rub the neck down with steel wool. This makes a mess, so do it outside. And then rub the neck down with a tack cloth to remove any leftover steel wool pieces. Then comes the final coat of nitro and let it dry overnight. The next day I'll use 4-0 steel wool instead of sanding because I like the matte satin result and the frets polish up real nice. Next I'll install tuners. I almost always use spertzel locking tuners for the quality and tuning stability. I'll put them in and tighten the nut to hold them in place while I visually check alignment before drilling. Each tuner has a small screw in the back side to hold it in place, so I'll drill those pilot holes and then screw them in. And while I was at it, I went ahead and drilled holes for the truss rod cover. So at this point the neck is entirely done, and some people will put the neck aside and not attach it to the body until the very end, but I go ahead and attach it right here so I can string up the outside strings and get a reference for where my pickup holes need to line up with those strings. Gives me confidence that the pickups will be in the right spot, so that's where I'll start tomorrow. The pickup rings are taped in place to make it easy to knock out drilling all the holes at the same time. I'll go ahead and drill those holes and screw the screws in so the pickups are done for now. Then I'll go ahead and remove my 2 guide strings, the bridge and the tailpiece, since I don't need them anymore. Then I'll drill the holes for my Schaller strap locks, and here's a good look at the way I drill holes into bodies that are already finished. The danger is that the finish will crack and lift as soon as the drill bit starts turning and grabs that finish. A drill press would be the real solution for this, but I don't have one, so I'll use painter's tape to help avoid scratches, and I think it actually helps hold the finish all together a bit. Then I'll start the drill in reverse for a hot second to get through the top surface of the finish, and then switch over to forward with a quick rotation speed to drill the hole. Knock on wood, this has always produced clean holes for me. On the upper strap lock, the thing to look out for is finding a spot where the screw won't poke all the way into the switch cavity. Onto the jack plate holes, and I'll give you a tip to do this fitting with the jack mounted in the plate so you know the jack will fit into the cavity nicely once the plate is screwed on. I've made that mistake before, and plugging a cable in is tough when the jack is mashed up against the side of the cavity. So all my holes are now drilled, and I'll start tomorrow on electronics. Before I can start soldering, I gotta line the electronics cavities, including the covers, with copper tape to shield out noise. Google Faraday cage if you want to learn more about this. I get all my schematics from guitarelectronics.com because they're really easy to follow. My schematic is 2-volume, 2-tone, 3-way switch, and independent coil taps for each humbucker. You'll notice I use a few rags to keep solder from splashing on the body. They also help protect from the wires or braided shield scratching around back there. Once the electronics are done, I'll throw a string or two on just to see if things are working, and in my case, they normally aren't because I make plenty of mistakes and made an unfortunately time-consuming one here wiring the switch up. I even thought about making a full segment of me troubleshooting and fixing the mistakes so you guys had to suffer through my pain with me, but I'll spare you all that. Luckily, I was able to track it down relatively quickly by tracing through my schematic, and about 45 minutes later, I had corrected the problem and was getting solid output. So I screwed on the back plates, strung up the guitar, and put the knobs on. So at this point, the guitar is completely done being built. All that's left is a proper setup and some sound samples, so tomorrow should be fun. Last day is all about the setup. Truss rod goes first, so check out the neck, detune, adjust the truss rod, and retune. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get it right. Then I'll adjust the string height and make sure the guitar plays the way I want it to. And after that, I'll hop to intonation, make sure the guitar plays in tune. And finally, I'll adjust the pickup height to make sure the guitar sounds the way I want it to and put on the truss rod cover. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you all learned something, and I hope some of you will muster up the courage to build your own. Let's check out how I did on this one.
Thank you.